Hello! The company Paul Rubens has very kindly sent me this lovely looking box of oil pastels to try out. It looks like there are 26 in the box. It's all beautifully wrapped in plastic, and so I'm going to have to get that off before we go blind by my studio lights. So let's get into it! Even without the plastic, the box is still shiny, but it's a bit better. So let's take a look at the outside first, and then I'll open it up so we can see the beautiful pastels inside. Colour is exquisite and vivid, just as oil paint. It can be overlaid or mixed with multicolours. Soft strokes, it makes painting easier. Eco-friendly material with fresh smell, colour bright and even, strong tinctural power and not easy to fade. The thick cylindrical pen holder is strong, durable and with a good hand feel. Okay, let's get it open and see what they look like. It's always nice to open a box when it is just brand new. So they're protected by a nice layer of sponge. There's a small booklet in here with what looks like a colour chart and all of the colours that maybe go into the larger ones. Actually, now I'm seeing this, they also have pearlescent oil pastels and macaron ones, which I think are the pastel colours. And then over the page there are some instructions on how to use them, and all of the sets with a total of 144 colours. They look rather lovely, don't they? It looks like the colours are kind of out of order. I might spend a bit of time actually rearranging them before I swatch, but let's just take a look at one of them. The purple one is speaking to me. Okay, when I'm touching that, it's quite an oily sensation, which is generally the way of oil pastels. Here's something interesting on them. This one has Chinese, which I think is the name, and then this one has mixed blue. So I guess some of them are going to have English names. I will have to take a closer inspection of all of them, but just touching them, they are very soft and very much picking up colour easily onto my finger. So these are going to be fun to work with. I'm sure I'm going to make a huge mess with them, but I do like the sensation of them. I much prefer oil pastels to soft pastels, which are the chalkier ones. Here we go, I've rearranged them into somewhat of a rainbow order, although it's a bit all over the place still. I think that is a lilac colour, a really pale purple, but it's hard to tell. And I'm already noticing there are no browns in this set at all. It's purely colours. So if I want brown, I'm going to have to mix it with various other colours such as red and green together. We'll see how that goes. Maybe I'll just avoid brown. And they are so sticky. I've got it all over my hands just from touching them and moving them around. So now I'll swatch. Some of them have English names, other ones I think are Japanese names, and then others again are Chinese, so it's really hard to know exactly what they are. Let's just take a look at the pretty colours. I'm just doing my swatches on some cheap smooth paper here because I have limited amounts of pastel matte and I want to save that for the artwork. You can see I have a whole mess of names here. I recorded all of the ones that had English names. I tried to translate the Japanese names, although I don't know what Hanaba is, I could not find that anywhere. And there were a few with only Chinese characters that I couldn't pick up on the phone to translate, so I just ended up putting the pastel number down and calling them what I think they are, like that H303 is red. The one beside it is called Jinzamomi Pink, which is apparently a traditional Japanese colour. I was having some lighting issues there for a moment for some reason. I think that is a pale lilac. It's really hard to see though on this paper. Because it is such a smooth surface, the pastels were having a bit of a time trying to grip on it, and they don't look as vibrant as they actually are. If you saw my previous video, I had the same problem with the Marabou crayons. They definitely become more vibrant on a rougher surface like pastel matte. So I think in the booklet, this actually was called a 24 set of regular colours. It's actually 26 colours, with 13 on each row. After swatching them out, I'm just doing a bit of testing to see how they actually blend. They work well with the finger, and this funny thing here is a makeup sponge. I actually ended up buying some for this video. I also tried out some of this Zest-It pencil blend. That works really well with a cotton bud. Anything oil-based will actually dissolve the pastels quite nicely. Normally I use linseed oil, but I thought I'd give the pencil blend a go, and yeah, it was pretty good. So I'll get straight into my artwork. This is a picture of a splendid fairy wren, which are pretty common in the state of Victoria, and they are one of my favourite birds. They're so cute, and the males go a beautiful blue colour. They're also really tiny. This is from a photo that I think Nick took a few years ago in 2019. I actually drew this in coloured pencil, and so I thought I'd try to replicate it in pastels, and it's got a very colourful background, so it's quite a fun one to do. I'm using a cosmetic sponge to blend out the background as much as possible. In my previous video on the Marabou crayons, I had mentioned that I was thinking about getting some makeup sponges to do this, and right at the same time the Rubens Oil Pastels showed up, so I figured I might as well buy some. I purchased these on Amazon during the Black Friday sale, and I'll link them in the description below. Along, of course, with the Rubens Oil Pastels. So I found that to begin with it was quite easy to blend, but once I got to the green, it started to become a little more difficult, and for some reason the green oil pastel didn't work as well as the other pastels in the set. Pretty much all of the others were super easy to blend, but the green one was a bit dry or something, and so it went much more streaky, which was super annoying. The background at the moment is an absolute mess, and I was just looking at it going, oh, what have I done? It's going to be horrible. But I was able to use some of that Zest-It pencil blend to dissolve the pastel. In fact, it worked a little too well and I ended up lifting quite a lot of it off. So it's a bit of a patchy mess right now. I kind of left it to dry for about an hour while I had my lunch, and now I'm going over that background again with a second layer. The pastels went on so much more easily, and I had no issues at all blending the reds and oranges together. The yellows were fine too. It was just that one particular green which for some reason kept kind of pilling on the paper, and it was a little bit annoying, but I was still able to blend it out relatively well. The background is not as seamless as I would like, but I was able to get something which was half decent. It was more difficult than using the coloured pencils though. I'm not very experienced with oil pastels, and I did actually learn quite a lot from this particular artwork. It was fun and I enjoyed it very much. I really like using those sponges too. I'm so glad I bought some. So it looks like Paul Rubens has quite a few different sets of oil pastels, starting with this smaller set of 26. There's also 36, 50 and 72. There are also a couple of specialty sets like lighter pastel colours, and also glitter oil pastels, which I'm really intrigued about. I have no idea how good those would be, but the regular colours I'm using here are very nice. There was a nice vibrancy to them. I'm now going in with some of the blues for the wren itself. The phthalo blue and grey blue were pretty much exactly the colours of the wren, and I used some white to mix in some different highlights. I had also managed to drop one of the light green pastels onto the bird, which was very annoying. I was able to cover it up eventually. It took a while though. What I did here was add all of the colours onto the bird and just get kind of a base layer for it. And I used pencil blend on a cotton bud to really dissolve the pastel and get rid of any white from the background of the pastel mat. It's going through an ugly phase here. One layer is definitely not enough. They are designed to be layered on top of each other, and I recommend doing so. So once I'd let it dry a bit, and happily that orange oil dries a lot quicker than linseed oil, I was then able to get a much thicker layer of black over the top, and now the colours are starting to look a lot richer and fuller. Because I don't have any browns, I was using the excess on the cotton bud to paint in its legs as well. And now I'm just building up the layers, and the white was nice and opaque, so I'm happy about that. If you can see over to the right, I have my glass palette. And I actually coloured some of the pastels directly onto the glass and added in a few drops of linseed oil, which I then mixed together with a palette knife, and I was able to come up with some oil paint. It worked pretty well. It took a while to activate, but once I got it going, it was not bad at all. And now I'm able to get those fine details, which you just cannot get from the oil pastel itself because it's way too blunt. But painting it on with a tiny brush meant I could get some feather texture, and I'm really happy with how the birds turned out. So I quite like oil pastels. They're pretty versatile because you can use them dry or you can mix them up like this. You can see me mixing in some oil with a palette knife. It's a bit messy and not as efficient as using a regular oil paint, but if you just want to mix up a small amount for details like this, it worked out fine. I'm so glad I picked up that glass palette too. It's working out really well and I'm very happy with it. I'll link that in the description below too if I can find it. I was even able to mix up a bit of a brown colour here. I mixed in some reds and greens together and just kind of combined it until it looked like a brownie colour. It's not exactly the same as the reference, but it's close enough for this. And then I pretty much picked up all of the paints that I had made to fill in the lower part of the picture, which is a branch that the wren is perched on. The lazy side of me wishes there were some browns already made in the set that I didn't have to mix up, but I was able to make something, so I'm really happy, and my splendid fairy wren turned out so cute. And here's my finished oil pastel painting. I'm pretty happy with it actually. I could probably do with maybe going over it again with another layer, but I might just leave well enough alone for now because the bird is incredibly oily and this needs to dry, so I'm going to have to leave it out for a few weeks to really dry. And I also have some oil pastel fixative which I will spray over the top eventually. I'll just bring it up so you can get a closer look. You can see how I've added the linseed oil in with the oil pastel and it's made it really shiny. That will eventually dry, but hopefully it will keep some of the shininess on there. So I really enjoyed these. I'm not very good with oil pastels, it's something that I am learning as I go, but this is a nice set. The only thing I really missed was having a few browns. I think in the larger sets the browns will be there, but in this one maybe one brown would have been nice, but I was still able to mix some earthy colours down here for the branch, and its feet have kind of gotten lost a little bit, so I might need to add a bit more detail once everything has fully dried there. Thank you so much for watching this video, and thank you to Paul Rubens for sending this set to me. I enjoyed it and I think it's quite a good one. If you enjoyed this video, please don't forget to give it a thumbs up and click that subscribe button, and I will see you all again really soon in my next video. I hope you're having a great day out there. Swatch you later. Bye!